Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Lovely, and I'm back again to talk to you about writing. I just read a book to you earlier called Old MacDonald, and I was talking to you during the book about creating a wow picture. And that's what we're going to be talking about this week. And I want you to notice the chart over here. We're going to be using this chart all week long to help us make a wow picture. And so let's go through it just quickly. We see here, so at the top, I'll scroll up for you. It says how to make a wow picture. And you'll see this chart all week long. So the first thing you're going to do is use pencil. And when we start drawing, we usually just draw one thing. And here they've added one color. So as we continue to add details, it becomes a wow picture. So then you want to add some detail like a sunshine, maybe a colored door. And then they've added even more, a sunshine and some clouds. And then they colored the windows. So adding more detail, and they labeled. And then our last picture shows a wow picture, just like we saw in our book, Old MacDonald. Lots of color, lots of detail, and they've labeled. We're not quite ready to write a sentence yet, so we are labeling, practicing using our resources and stretching out words to get us ready for writing sentences. So here we see where they've colored all the background. They've added a tree and some grass, and they've added the sunshine, and they've labeled, they've even added birds, and they labeled the sun and the tree. And notice they drew a line, and they labeled the cloud and the house, and they colored in the line. So think back to last week when we were talking about making sure our coloring looked really good and we had good illustrations. We stayed in the lines. We used colors that make sense, and there's no white spaces. So we see all of those things that we've been learning. So we're putting all those things together this week and creating a wow picture. Now, what Miss Lovely wants you to think about is a community helper. So that's what we're talking about in our read alouds, and in social studies, you're learning about community helpers. So Miss Lovely chose a community helper book about a farmer. So I want you to think this week about your favorite community helper, and then I want you to draw a picture of your community helper. So you'll start off drawing that in pencil. And so remember, when you draw a person, all those parts that you have to have, a head and a body, arms and legs, and then add those details like clothes. And then you can think about maybe what your community helper does. If they're a fireman, you might want to draw a fire truck with it, and a building. If you chose a teacher, you might want to draw a classroom with your teacher. But what we want to see is all those details that make it a wow picture. So as you're thinking about your community helper, think about what they do and the tools that they use, and you can add those things to your wow picture. And we also want you to label. So you're going to be doing lots of things this week. You're going to be drawing, starting in pencil, adding detail, and making sure that you're using all those tools that we learned last week, coloring in the lines, colors that make sense, and leaving no white spaces, and then labeling and using your resources. Remember, we practiced using our ABC chart and finding those letters and sounds on the ABC chart. And Miss Audley's also provided some resources for you that has some pictures and words. You can look on that word wall to see if your community helper might be on there. You can also use the sight word list that Miss Audley's provided. You can use that to help you. So use your resources when you're labeling, because we'll be using those later on when we begin writing a sentence. So what I want to do today is I want us to think about my community helper. I said that I was going to draw a farmer. And Miss Lovely doesn't have I don't have a black color on as one of my choices. So I'm just going to use the red. And remember, when we draw, we think about our shapes. So one of the shapes that I'm going to use is a circle, and I'm going to use an oval. Okay, so if I'm drawing a person, I'm going to need the circle for his head, because I'm going to draw my community helper, which was from the book Old MacDonald, and I'm drawing the farmer. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my book. I've got it with me here, and let's look inside right here, and let's look. So one of the things that I could do is give him a hat, and I could put some clothes on him. And in this book, the illustrator gave him a rake. That's one of the tools that a farmer might use. And I could also draw maybe a barn, some things like that in the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw everything with pencil, right? So I could draw a barn back here in the background, couldn't I? Okay. I could give a little silo. Notice the shapes that I'm using. I'm using the rectangles. Okay, and I could give it a big barn door. Lots of barns have a big X on it. Okay, and we could give it kind of a triangle right there. So I could have a barn where we keep the corn. I could also draw a cow right here in the front. Remember, I can use an oval, and I could use another oval. Give it a nose. And they're going to have some ears like that. The eyes. Okay, and most cows have rectangle legs, right? So I can do the skinny rectangles. Okay, and I can give the cow a tail. I don't think a cow's tail is quite that long, so we can make it a little shorter. Okay, and I could even add some detail later when I go to color. If it's black or if it has spots on it, we could add that. So going back to my farmer, I could give my farmer a hat. Okay, give him a farm hat. Okay, and he's going to need some eyes. We can do the nose. Okay, give him a smile. And he's going to need his arms. And I could give him some overalls. See if I can make that look like overalls. It's a little hard with my computer. Let's look at that. I'm going to look over here at my picture. Let's see. We'll make his overalls go down. Kind of color that in a little bit. Okay. We could give him a pocket here on the front. Most overalls have a pocket, and he's going to need his legs, right? Okay, let's scroll down a little bit so you can see. Okay. All right. And go back to the pen. I can do a shirt over top. Okay, and his pants. Those overalls a little wider. Can do some big buttons right here. Okay. So you get kind of the idea. And we can do his boots. Okay. Those are awfully big, aren't they? We can make this a little smaller. Okay, so you get the idea. So you're adding detail, and we could also go back and add some grass. Okay, that was one of the things that we saw in our Old MacDonald. They went back, and even on this picture on our chart, they've added grass and a sky. So I could go back and add a sky and even some more details of things that I might see on the farm. So I want you to pick a community helper, your favorite community helper, and I want you to draw a picture of your community helper, and I want you to follow the chart this week. So today what you'll do is you'll just start with drawing in pencil. And then on Tuesday, you'll add some more detail, maybe a sky and maybe another color. And then on Wednesday, you will add more detail and more color. And then on Thursday, you'll complete your picture, adding all the details and labeling. So on Friday, you'll be ready to share your wow picture with us. So you're going to choose a community helper and think about the tools that they use and create a wow picture for that community helper. Okay, boys and girls? You're doing a great job. I'm loving seeing all of your work and seeing you at our Google Meets. I hope things at home continue to go well with your learning, and I'll see you soon. Bye.